can I talk to you about something real quick, bro?
Go for it.
Bro, so you see my shirt, right? You like my shirt?
Yeah.
It's really smooth, right? This is that into
Got some good initials, huh?
Well, you know, I'm an AM guy, and I'm always into being into me, and this is by Into the AM. But shout out to them, man. Like I said, man, I love this material, bro.
I think I have the same on, right?
You do. This is the basic, their basic tee, right? This is the navy blue. I like the navy blue. But we also seen I had the graphic tee on last time with the spaceman where I told you I went upstairs, right? And I forgot that it glue in the dark and it started glowing in the dark. And I freaked out, scared wifey a little bit. But that's what they got. That's the type of material they rock with. And they got a couple deals going on right now too. Couple of deals.
Let's hear about them.
You know, you got to talk about the deals, right? So the first deal they have going on at Into the AM, on these basic tees like this, you can get 3 of these for $45. I'm talking high quality. It feels good, breathable. I like that. But then also on those graphic tees that we talked about as well, for all my researchers, my galaxy travelers out there, 3 for $60 for those. But this is the big kicker, because, you know, we don't just do deals that anybody else can get, because anybody can get that deal. I'm into stacking good deal on top of good deal. And the way we do that is by having a code for you, baby. That code is MOATS10. But the link is right there, intotheam.com/MOATS10. And you'll get 10% off of your purchases along with, so check this out, right? They do these memberships where they'll send you a shirt a month. You even get 10% off of that membership by using MOATS10 as well. Ooh. So like I said, man, we stack promo code, we stack deals for y'all, because if we gonna talk about it, we got to make sure that it's for y'all. So with that being said, check out Into the AM so y'all can get some fine clothing like this, baby. And we got to talk about Antoine Brooks, the fall from grace. I mean, my man went from coming out of OTAs and mini camp where he was going to be viewed as the starting nickel. I mean, he went into training camp as the starting slot corner, performed extremely well early on in training camp, played well in that Cowboys game. And from there, the decline happened.
And it looks like out of all the people that are in competition, he has the best physical tools and looked the part easily, right?
Absolutely. Like, in terms of a guy that we felt confident in terms of one of our young players taking that next step, Antoine was one of those guys. I talked about, you know, when we was watching him on film in that Bengals game from last year, he played well. Now, granted, the sample size was small. That was his only game where he saw extended action in the slot, but he played well. I thought he covered well. I liked his physicality, and I thought he played with good smarts, and he didn't panic in, you know, catch point situations and things like that typically young corners do. But when you go from that Cowboys preseason game to literally not practicing for 2.5 weeks.
And we thought he looked fine in the Cowboys game, right?
Right. So, to my surprise, when I came back and I'm like, yo, he hasn't been practicing, I would tell you every day, like, yo, he's still not out here. I don't know why. I see him like he's in his shirt. He has his jersey on, but he's in sneakers. Like, I don't know what's going on with him. For it to have lasted that long, like, it's very frustrating, because he was a guy that we thought was legit in that position, was going to push whoever they would try to bring in there as competition. And it's unfortunate. Now, I do like that the team put him on injured reserve. So it does show that the team hasn't fully given up on him.
Why's that?
Just in the sense of, by them waiving him and then putting him on injured reserve, he can't come back this season, but they could have done what you call like an injury settlement, essentially, where they would just cut him a check for X amount of dollars and just have him go on about his business. At least now they still technically have his rights. So it's like, okay, once you get healthy, if we want to sign you to a futures deal next offseason, we can do that. We'll have the first opportunity to do that. Now, obviously that can change if he gets healthy, like later in the year, and he's just like, yo, I don't want to sit. I want to go try to see if I can get on somewhere else. Well, then he can negotiate that settlement as well to get out of the injury reserve clause. But ultimately, by them putting him on injury reserve, that does at least let me know that, okay, they didn't want a cold turkey just turn away from him. They still have some type of vision for him right now.
Then he's got to be hurt then.
I mean, I hope that's the case, but no indication is showing that he was hurt. That's the thing. Like, you watch him, I'm like, okay, is it upper body injury? You don't have any slings on. You're still moving around. You don't walk with the limp. I just don't know. Yeah.
That's wild.
And then because it's no injury report during the preseason, Coach Thomas has never had to come out and specify what is going on with him.
So I will never know.
Right, you'll never know unless he were to come out and say it. Yeah.
Wow.
Right.
Because
So
there's
right.
a major difference between him and the other 4 guys that we cut.
Absolutely, man.
There's a major difference.
Absolutely, man.
I was curious why it happened because I would have thought maybe he would get the Benny Snell treatment if he was healthy. This is why it makes me think that he's hurt and he would miss at least half the season if they're going to put him on injured reserve like that. If he would come in this game, like Benny Snell's going to play.
Yeah, they said Benny Snell's going to play like, 15 snaps they're talking about for him?
But he wasn't getting full practice time, though. Was it last week? You were saying he was on scout team.
So, no, for Benny Snell.
No, I'm talking about Brooks.
Brooks was on scout team, yes.
Yeah.
Brooks was starting to do scout team reps, and that's why, once again, when you're like, well, is he hurt? I'm like, nah, because I saw him come out there and practice, and you could just, we weren't surprised because of how Coach Tomlin handled Kevin Dotson, but it still was a surprise to see him not even with the third team, him with the scout team. I'm like, this dude don't belong out here with these scout team guys. But then you go and you see the game, and once again, it's like, where's Antoine Brooks? So for me, man, that's the one thing when you're in a battle and you're trying to make a roster and you don't have top 3 draft pick pedigree, meaning first round, second round, third round. They didn't allocate a ton of money to you. Yeah, you can't miss that much time. They're not going to hold a spot for you like that. And for Antoine, I don't know what the issue was because, like I said, they don't have to tell us. He never told us, but I do know he came back to practice. So when I see that, I'm just like, where is it something that was more nagging and not necessarily hurt? And you just kind of like prolonged it, or was it something where you legitimately could not go out there? Now that's something that he's going to have to answer. Right. I can never answer that for him.
And then he tried it with scout team, and he was like, "Nah, I'm just not going to be able to."
Right, but
either way, you can't miss that much time.
That, right, but that's a ton of time for a guy that's in a competition that was a late round draft pick and that wasn't even a solidified starter at the end of the last season. Like if he was like Dotson, right? He started the last 5 games. We're like, yo, he balled out. We know he's the guy. Different conversation. He had 1 game where he played in the slide. It's like 25 plays. So you talk about 25 plays, that's not a ton to stand on in a competition where you're not necessarily head and shoulders above the rest of these guys like that.
I'm really interested in the Pierre Sutton to slot combination. I'm really interested in that. Man. But with Brooks, I'm willing to give him another chance for next year. I thought you talked about him enough in this offseason, but then for him to be the front runner in that nickel spot, like right off the bat like that, and a lot of people singing his praises and him having those physical tools, man. I want to give him another shot. I was kind of bummed out about all this. I did. I thought he was going to play this game against the Panthers. He was going to get a chance to keep his roster spot one way or another. And then if he had to throughout the season, maybe he could work back into it. We just didn't know what this whole cornerback carousel is going to look like for a secondary. Like who's going to start? Is it going to be Pierre? Cam Sutton in the slot?
Right?
Hayden on the outside? Is Justin Lang going to get any playing time? But if Brooks could have at least been on the roster, maybe he could have got some looks just as the season went on. He could have asserted himself a little bit. Yeah, a little bummed out though.
Man. Definitely, man.
I don't know if there's too much else to it if we don't know any of this information.
Right. That's the frustrating part. I was hoping like as the day progressed and it's further from when the news broke that
if anything it's more murky.
Say something like, hey, it was this, it was that. But right now I'm just kind of like, what was it? Like, are you doing this because you knew you were going to cut him, but you want to at least keep him on the roster? So that's why you put him on IR, even though he's not necessarily hurt enough to be gone for the season. Is that the approach? Or is it just a formality right now? Hey, we'll keep him on IR for a little while. Then after that, we'll change our mind on him. If this guy plays well, if Justin Lane shows that he can be legitimate, if James Pierce shows that he can ball, hey, man, we got a little more depth than we think. All right, why waste this dude?
So keeping Brooks is solely just for next year. He can't come back this year?
He can't come back this year because they put him on IR before the season. And the only reason I know that is because that's what I did in Arizona. But mine, as a 9-year guy in the league, it was different. I did mine more so to guarantee the contract because I knew in my mind I was going to retire. So it was more so the formality of I can't say I'm going to retire right now because then you don't have to pay me, but I'm still hurt. But I know this is what I want to do. So put me on IR. I'm not coming back this year. I won't play anywhere else. And we'll go that route. It made sense at my case. For Antoine, that doesn't make sense. You want to ball. You're trying to start your career. You're trying to get money. You're trying to, build a name for yourself. So that's not the approach that you want to take.
He's one of the last people I would have thought was going to get cut too because the Maryland connection with Tomlin. I'm being serious though. Like,
seriously?
I don't think Tomlin just does that out of nowhere. Like, there's got to be a reason.
But hold on. I get that, but I'm like, what about the O-line cat? Derwin Gray. I'm like, was he there with his son? Because I felt like that was the connection, right? Where if you were there with Coach Tomlin's son at Maryland, you're good. But if you weren't there with his son, we like you, we just don't love you.
I'm not sure, but just straight up talent, though.
Yeah,
that Brooks brought to the table. I thought he was. I mean, he obviously did right off the bat have the upper hand over Mollett. Man. Like, I feel better about him being the nickel corner over Mollett. And then we're throwing like Gilbert in there. We were trying to as like the second string and some other guys. Whereas Brooks, he looks like he fits the role pretty much.
He doesn't look like an outside corner trying to play in the slot. He looks like a slot corner.
That's why I'm like, you just don't give that up. Plus the Maryland connection had to be a reason. I'm guessing hurt. I'm guessing he was hurt whenever we.
I'm hoping this. I hope it was like that as well, man. Because I would just hate for him to have lost his opportunity. Because
he was taking it for granted.
He was taking it for granted, right? I would hate for that to be the case.
He was coming off pretty confident whenever he was answering questions about his role in the team early on, but that's not a bad thing at all.
No, you want the confidence.
Yeah,
absolutely.
You definitely do.
But you don't want it to turn into arrogance when we're talking about a position.
I would find it so hard to believe based off everything we said. He doesn't have a roster spot locked up to where you could miss this amount of time and feel like you're good to come back. I have a hard time believing that. That's why I think it was just injury related. He just can't go. That's my guess, though. Could be wrong.
Yeah.
I don't know if any information is going to come out. I don't know if it's going to be something pressing whenever we're week 2 in the season. Oh, what's that update on Antoine Brooks? I don't know if we're going to care about it that much.
Because like I said, with Antoine, like you said, he can't come back now. So